Not long after I moved in, the college girl next door called the police, accusing me of stalking her with a sick obsession and peeping on her while she showered. When the cops knocked on the door, she was crying her eyes out, pointing at me and screaming, "Pervert. You spy on me every night with binoculars. You even posted my photos online. I saw it. You're disgusting. Lecherous eyes make me sick." Neighbors began pointing fingers and whispering. Some even shoved me, calling me scum of society. This pervert should be chemically castrated. Looks normal on the outside, but he's a peeping Tom. Facing the crowd's accusations, I removed my sunglasses, revealing 2 sunken eye sockets, hollow and lifeless. "Officer, please tell me, how exactly does a blind man spy?" The voice wasn't loud, yet it pierced the chaotic air in the room like an ice pick. Neighbors who had just shoved and cursed me froze abruptly. The middle-aged woman leading them froze with her hand midair, forgetting to lower it. All eyes locked onto my face. More accurately, they locked onto where my eyeballs should have been. Those 2 hollow sockets. They were the permanent mark left by that fire 3 years ago. The lead officer was named William, a veteran. He froze for a moment, then frowned, his voice thick with irritation. "Don't lie to us. Whether you're truly blind, the hospital will determine." The girl in the next room, Lamia, suddenly stopped crying, then began sobbing more urgently. "He's lying. He's just trying to avoid punishment. He can't be blind." He stood by the window, every night staring at me. Those eyes, those eyes. She seemed to want to describe my eyes, but fell silent upon seeing my empty sockets.
"He only pointed at me."
Trembling all over.
"Disgusting.
So disgusting." Her shrieks alarmed the neighbors once more. "Exactly. He's definitely faking blindness. Criminals these days will do anything, even feigning blindness, to dodge punishment." A young man lunged forward, furious, trying to grab my collar. "You bastard. I'll make you pay today." The police intervened just in time. "What are you doing? Back off. Let the police handle this." He turned to look at me, his eyes still filled with suspicion and disgust.
"Come with me."
I obediently held out my hand. The cold metal handcuffs clicked shut around my wrists. 2 young officers flanked me toward the elevator. Behind me, Mia sobbed, mingled with neighbors' curses into a cacophony. "Scum of society. Get out of our neighborhood. Rotten in jail." I could see the righteous indignation etched on their faces. As they shoved me into the MUD, I could hear their waves of schadenfreude. I stepped into the elevator. The metal doors slowly closed, sealing out the outside clamor. One of the young officers, a new recruit, couldn't help whispering to me, Are you really blind?" I tugged at the corner of my mouth, offering no reply. Another officer patted his shoulder, signaling him to stay silent. But I knew full well in their eyes, scales had already tipped, completely toward that tear-streaked young woman. After all, on one side stood a young, beautiful, pitted college student. On the other side stood a suspicious man living alone, wearing sunglasses.
To them,
Who was the victim and who was the perpetrator was as clear as crystal. What they didn't know was, sometimes what the eyes see is the greatest lie of all. And I, blind man, saw the truth. None of them noticed. Like when Mia accused me, her heartbeat was steady, devoid of any genuine emotional fluctuation. In the police interrogation room, fluorescent lights flickered harshly, the air thick with a faint musty smell. I sat on a cold metal chair. Across from me were William and a female officer taking notes. Name, Lucas. Age, 28. Occupation, unemployed. William slammed his and onto the table with a sharp crack. "Lucas, I advise you to come clean. We have witnesses and evidence. How long do you think you can keep lying?" I turned calmly and asked, "What witnesses? What evidence?" "The witness is the victim, Mia. As for evidence," William paused, seemingly realizing how difficult this was to admit. "We're gathering it. Don't think denial will let you off the hook." He raised his voice, trying to intimidate me with sheer force. "Mia has already laid everything out clearly. You started stalking her just a week after moving in. Every night at 8. While she showered. You watched her through binoculars across the street. You even secretly took photos of her and posted them on foreign websites for profit. Your actions constitute serious criminal offenses. Plead guilty now, and we might still get leniency." I nearly laughed out loud. This fabricated story was quite elaborate. Time, location, tools, motive, every detail meticulously crafted. Had I not been the subject, I might have believed it myself. "William," I cut off his lecture. "First, I don't even own binoculars. Second, I possess no weapons. 3 years ago, I replaced my computer and phone with devices for the visually impaired. No cameras at all. Third, and most crucial, I emphasized each word deliberately, I am blind. William's breathing visibly quickened. I warned you not to use this as an excuse. Whether you're truly blind or not, we're taking you for verification. Until the results are in, he remained the prime suspect. The interrogation room door burst open as a young officer peered inside. Captain, the victim is extremely agitated and crying hysterically. She's threatening to report us to higher UPS for shielding a criminal. William's expression darkened. Instantly understood. He waved the young officer away, then fixed me with a fierce glare. Of course, I couldn't see his furious eyes, but I could hear his teeth grinding. Lucas, do you have any idea how much pressure we're under because of you? She's a student at a top university. This case has drawn massive public scrutiny. Handle it wrong, and the entire precinct gets slammed. In that moment, I finally understood.
To him.
The truth mattered far less than maintaining surface-level peace. And the simplest way to keep the peace: force me to confess. So, to clear your name, I have to admit to something I didn't do. My tone turned icy, refusing to talk. No problem. We have ways to make you talk. He sprang to his feet, his towering figure casting a shadow over me. Lock him up as soon as the search warrant arrives. Turn his hideout upside down. I guarantee you won't find a shred of evidence. The door swung open. 2 officers barged in, seizing my arms once more. I offered no resistance. From the moment Mia reported me, I knew I'd fallen into a meticulously laid trap. Without thorough preparation, they'd never have dared to act. Next, they discover so-called evidence in my apartment, and I would be branded with a mark of shame forever. The cold iron door slammed shut behind me, its echo sealed outside. I was locked in a temporary holding cell. The cramped room contained only a hard bed and a toilet. The air reeked of a foul mixture of disinfectant and despair. I groped my way to the edge of the bed, holding my breath to listen for sounds outside the door. Footsteps echoed down the hallway, punctuated by hushed whispers. That peeping pervert looks respectable on the surface, but utterly disgusting inside. Heard, he went blind. Must be faking it. Who knows? He's finished anyway. How dare he bully a college girl? These voices pierced my eardrums like countless times. Any needles? I had long grown accustomed to the darkness. Yet for the first time, I felt a bone-chilling coldness slice through my body like a blade. About 2 hours later, the iron door creaked open again. It was William. He clutched a clear evidence bag. A smug grin plastered across his face. He waved the bag in front of my eyes. Lucas, take
Take a look at this.
He seemed to have forgotten I couldn't see. He revealed the answer himself, his voice dripping with satisfaction. We found this under your windowsill. Military-grade binoculars. And this produced another evidence bag containing a digital camera. The camera stored tons of photos of Mia from every angle. Absolutely disgusting.
Now.
What do you have to say? I remained silent. Inside, I was struck, as if by lightning. Their actions were too hasty. All the evidence had been planted. Seeing my lack of reaction, William took my silence as an admission of guilt. He pulled up a chair opposite me, his tone abruptly shifting to that of a teacher, lecturing a foolish child. Lucas, you're young and handsome. Why stoop to such despicable acts? The evidence is right before your eyes. Denial won't help. Sign here. I'll plead with the prosecutor. Maybe I can get you a few years off. Your sentence. He pushed the documents and ink pad toward me. Come on, give me your fingerprints. Getting this over with quickly is best for everyone. I could almost hear the contempt and impatience in his voice. He didn't care about the truth. He just wanted to close the case. I slowly lifted my head and met his gaze. William, if I give my fingerprints, does that mean I'm admitting to all the charges? Absolutely. So, I'll be convicted of indecent assault and distribution of obscene material.
Correct.
Consolidated charges. Minimum 3-year sentence. My name. My life branded forever as rapist and pervert. William's patience seemed exhausted. What nonsense are you spouting? You brought this on yourself. Who else can you blame? I laughed. Eerie laughter echoed through the empty holding cell. Yeah, who else could it be? I muttered to myself. Then I reached for the confession. Just as William thought I was about to press my fingerprints, I tore the document to shreds. Paper flakes drifted down like snow. William stared in disbelief. He hadn't seen this coming at all. You're insane. He leapt to his feet, pointing at my face and roaring. This is resisting arrest. You'll pay for this. I met his fury head-on. My voice clear as crystal. I didn't do it. I will never confess. You can fabricate evidence. You can torture me for a confession. But you will never break me. Want a confession? Kill me first. My words struck William like a sledgehammer. His face flushed crimson and turned purple, finally sinking into a deep blue. You've got some nerve. Let's see how tough you really are. He stormed out of the interrogation room, bellowing down the corridor. Get someone in here. Handcuff him. File charges and detain him. I'll make him understand the true meaning of legal authority. 2 officers burst in, roughly dragging me off the bed. The cold handcuffs clamped around my wrists, and this time tighter than before. A dull ache piercing my skin. They shoved me forward, making me stumble and lose my balance. Just then, the phone rang abruptly. It was the monotonous electronic alert, unique to a blind person's phone. An officer reached impatiently to hang up, but I spoke. Let me take the call. My tone carried an unquestionable calm. The officers hesitated. William barked. Take what call? Drag him out. If answering this call delays your pursuit of truth, the consequences are on you. My words froze William. He stared at me suspiciously. Finally, he signaled his men to hand over the phone. I awkwardly pressed the answer button. A cold, familiar female voice came through. Lucas? Stop playing with your food. The voice on the other end was sharp, crisp, and devoid of warmth, like expensive vodka poured over ice. It was Elena Vance. I'm currently handcuffed in a holding cell, I said, my voice rasping slightly. Officer William here seems to think I'm a voyeur with a penchant for binoculars. There was a pause, followed by a sigh that sounded like static crackling against my ear. Binoculars. You? That's rich. Is the officer there? Put me on speaker. I held the phone out. William snatched it from my hand, his breathing heavy with suppressed rage. Who is this? You are interfering with an active investigation. This is Elena Vance, senior partner at Vance and Sterling. The voice cut through the room, magnified by the speaker. The air in the room shifted instantly. Even without eyes, I could feel the temperature drop. Vance and Sterling wasn't just a law firm. They were the sharks that ate other sharks. They handled senators, cartels, and corporations that didn't exist on paper. I represent Lucas Blackwood, Elena continued, her tone bored but dangerous. I am currently standing in the lobby of your precinct with a writ of habeas corpus and a forensic expert who specializes in digital fabrication. If you do not release my client in the next 5 minutes, I will file a lawsuit that will strip you of your badge, your pension, and the very shirt on your back. And William? If you've touched him, I'll make sure you're working security at a mall in Alaska by next week. William's heartbeat, which had been a drum of anger, suddenly skipped a beat. A spike of pure cortisol.
Fear.
We found evidence, William stammered, his bravado leaking out like air from a punctured tire. Binoculars. A camera. Did you check for fingerprints on the shutter release? Elena asked. Or just the casing? Did you check the metadata on the SD card? Because if those photos were taken by a blind man, I assume the framing is avant-garde. Bring him out.
Now.
The call ended with a click. William stared at the phone, then at me. The silence stretched, heavy and suffocating. The 2 young officers behind me shuffled their feet, the leather of their boots creaking, a sound of uncertainty. Uncuff him, William whispered. Sir? I said uncuff him. William roared, slamming the phone onto the table. As the metal cuffs clicked open, rubbing against my raw wrists, I rubbed the circulation back into my hands. I stood up, adjusting my dark glasses. You're making a mistake, William hissed, leaning close to my ear. I could smell the stale coffee and tobacco on his breath, underlying the sour stench of sweat. She's got money, sure. But you live in my district. You can't hide behind a lawyer forever. I don't need to hide, William, I said softly, turning my head until my empty sockets were aligned with his rapid, terrified heartbeat. I see everything. The lobby of the police station was a chaotic symphony of ringing phones, weeping victims, and shouting officers. But through the noise, I heard the click-clack of high heels, stiletto, precise, confident.
Elena.
You look like hell, she said, her perfume hitting me, sandalwood and cold steel. She took my arm, not with pity, but with a firm grip to guide me. Nice to see you too, Elena. How did you know? I have alerts set for your name in every precinct database in the city. You promised to stay off the radar, Lucas. Voyeurism? Really? That's beneath you. I didn't do it. I know you didn't. You prefer much more efficient methods of destroying people. Let's go. We walked out into the cool night air. The city roared, sirens, traffic, the hum of the grid. As I stepped toward her car, a heavy hand grabbed my shoulder. It was the young man from the apartment complex, the one who had tried to attack me earlier. You think you can just walk away? He snarled. His heart was hammering 120 beats per minute. Erratic. Adrenaline and something else. Synthetic. Drugs? Let go of me, I said calmly. You sick freak. I know where you live. We all do. You won't sleep. You won't eat. We're going to make your life a living hell until you leave. Elena stepped between us. Touch him again, and I'll have you arrested for assault before your hand leaves his jacket. The boy spat on the ground near my feet. I heard the wet slap against the pavement and stormed off. Charming neighbors, Elena muttered as we got into her car. The leather interior squeaked as I settled in. The engine purred, a sound of expensive German engineering. Who is the girl? Elena asked as we merged onto the highway.
Mia.
College student. Moved in 2 months ago.
Quiet.
Too quiet. Too quiet. People have rhythms, Elena. You know this. The heavy tread of a worker, the frantic pace of the anxious. Mia, she moves like a ghost. But her heartbeat, it's a metronome. Even when she was screaming pervert and crying today, her heart rate never spiked. She was performing. A sociopath. Or a professional. Elena tapped the steering wheel. I can have a team sweep your apartment. Or I can move you to a safe house. No, I said, staring into the darkness of my own existence. If I leave, I look guilty. And if she's a professional, she's there for a reason. She picked me as a target to distract from something else. I need to know what. Lucas, you're blind. You're not the operative you used to be before the fire. I see more now than I ever did then. The elevator ride up to the 4th floor was a gauntlet. The metal box smelled of old takeout and industrial cleaner, but underneath, I could smell fresh paint. Spray paint. When the doors opened, the smell hit me like a physical blow.
Die Pervert.
Watching you, I could smell the propellant still lingering in the air. They had tagged my door. I ran my fingers over the wood. The paint was still tacky. My heightened sense of touch traced the jagged, angry letters. I unlocked the door and stepped into my sanctuary. The air inside was stale, preserving the scent of the police officers who had raided it. They had overturned my furniture. I heard the crunch of broken glass under my boots, my Braille reader, smashed. I didn't turn on the lights. I didn't need them. Darkness was my element. I sat in the armchair in the center of the living room. It was the only piece of furniture they hadn't destroyed. I sat perfectly still, regulating my breathing, lowering my own heart rate until I was a statue in the dark. I extended my senses. To the left, the hum of the refrigerator. Above, the heavy, rhythmic thumping of the couple in 5B watching an action movie. Below, the water pipes groaning.
And to the right.
Apartment 404. Mia's apartment. The walls in this building were thin, cheap drywall. To normal ears, they muffled sound. To mine, they were diaphragms, transmitting every vibration. I heard the shower running. That was her alibi, her routine. But beneath the hiss of the water, I heard something else.
Click. Whir. Click.
Mechanical. Rhythmic. A printer?
No. Heavier.
A counter? A currency counter? The shower stopped. The bathroom door opened. I heard her bare feet on the laminate floor. Wet footprints have a specific, sticky sound. She walked not to the bedroom, but to the living room. Is he back? A male voice.
Low.
Gravelly. Not the boy who yelled at me outside. This was an older man. A smoker. I could hear the wheeze in his lungs. Yeah, Mia's voice. Gone was the hysterical, high-pitched victim. Her voice was flat, deep, and annoyed. Lawyer got him out.
Fast.
Quicker than we thought. Does he know? He's blind, Victor. He doesn't know which way the toilet is. He's just a creepy old cripple. He was staring. He was staring at nothing. He has holes in his face, you idiot. The distraction worked. The police bought it hook, line, and sinker. They're so focused on the pervert next door, they won't look at the power consumption of this unit. We need 2 more days, the man, Victor, said. The batch is almost done. Then we pack up and leave. The girl accuses him of one last thing, maybe assault, and we vanish while he's being arrested.
Fine.
But keep it down. The neighbors are on edge. The neighbors are a mob. They're doing our security for us. I sat in the dark, a cold smile touching my lips. They weren't just manufacturing drugs. The smell, now that I focused, filtering out the spray paint and the trash. I caught it. A faint, acrid scent of acetone and phenylacetic acid. Methamphetamine. But high grade. They were cooking right next door to a blind man, using me as the lightning rod to keep the neighbors and police focused elsewhere. It was brilliant. But they made one mistake. They assumed the blind man was helpless. The next 2 days were a psychological siege. Every time I left my apartment, I was jeered at. Trash was left in front of my door. Rotten eggs, dog feces. The justice of the mob. I navigated it with a cane and a stoic expression, wearing my sunglasses, playing the part of the battered victim. But inside, I was preparing. I had mapped their apartment in my mind using audio reflections. I knew where the furniture was. I knew where the lab equipment was set up, against the shared wall in the 2nd bedroom. I needed to get inside. But I couldn't just break in. I needed them to invite me, or I needed to create a scenario where the police found them, not me. The opportunity came on the third night. A storm was rolling in. The air pressure dropped rapidly, making my sinuses ache. Thunder rumbled in the distance, masking smaller sounds. I heard Victor leave. Heavy boots. The jingle of keys. He was going for a supply run or a drop. Mia was alone. I went to my kitchen and found the main breaker for my apartment. I also knew, thanks to a maintenance repair I had listened to months ago, that the wiring in this building was a mess. The breakers for 403 and 404 were adjacent in the basement, but there was a sub-panel access in the utility shaft between our balconies. I stepped out onto my balcony. The wind was howling, whipping rain against my face. I counted the steps. 3 to the railing. I reached out. The divider was flimsy plastic. I didn't climb over. That would be seen. Instead, I reached into my pocket and pulled out a small, high-frequency emitter, a remnant of my old life that Elena had returned to me. It wasn't a weapon. It was a dog whistle, essentially, but tunable. I aimed it at the shared wall where I knew her dog, a small, nervous terrier she kept purely for appearances, was sleeping. I activated it. Inside 404, the dog went berserk. Barking, scratching, howling at the invisible pain in its ears. "Shut up. Buster, shut up." Mia screamed. The dog didn't stop. I adjusted the frequency. The dog began to throw itself against the balcony door. Mia opened the balcony door to let the dog out, hoping the fresh air would calm it. As soon as the latch clicked, I turned off the device. The dog ran out, whimpering. Mia stepped out, shivering in the rain. "Stupid mutt," she muttered. I was standing in the shadows of my own balcony, perfectly still. "Rough night?" I asked. She jumped, gasping. You creeping, get away from me." "I'll scream." "Relax, Mia. Or should I call you by your real name?" She froze. Her heart rate, for the first time, hitched. "What did you say?" "The acetone," I said, my voice barely carrying over the wind. "The scrubbers aren't working perfectly." The wind direction changed. "It's blowing right into my vent." Silence. "You don't know what you're talking about," she said, her voice dropping an octave. The innocent college girl was gone. The predator was surfacing. "I know Victor left. I know you're alone. And I know you're cooking enough meth to put you away for 20 years. Federal time. Not the slap on the wrist I'd get for being a peeping Tom." I heard the metallic slide of a knife being pulled from a sheath. She was armed. "You think anyone will believe a blind pervert?" she sneered, stepping closer to the divider. "No," I admitted. "But they'll believe the DEA tip line I called 10 minutes ago." That was a lie. But I needed her to panic. "You're lying." "Am I?" "Listen." In the distance, a siren wailed. It was just a generic ambulance, miles away, but to her paranoid ears, it was the end. She didn't scream. She didn't run. She made a decision. She vaulted over the balcony divider. It was athletic, professional. She landed on my balcony with a soft thud, the knife slicing through the air. She intended to kill me and frame it as self-defense. He broke in. He attacked me. I had to stab him.
Perfect.
She lunged. I felt the displacement of air before the blade arrived. My world was a 360-degree radar. I pivoted on my left heel, the knife whistling past my ear. I didn't need to see her. I could hear the fabric of her jacket rustle, the squeak of her sneakers on the wet concrete. She slashed again, a horizontal cut. I ducked, feeling the wind of the blade ruffle my hair. "You're not blind," she hissed, fear finally spiking in her voice. "I am," I said, grabbing her wrist mid-swing. My grip was iron. "That's why you can't beat me. You rely on light. You rely on what you can see." I twisted her wrist. Bones snapped. She screamed, dropping the knife. I swept her legs, sending her crashing onto the wet concrete. I was on top of her in a second, my hand around her throat, not to choke, but to pin. But in the dark, I whispered, leaning down until my empty sockets were inches from her face, "I am the king." Suddenly, the front door of my apartment burst open. Police. Hands in the air. It wasn't the police. The footsteps were too heavy, too uncoordinated. It was the neighbors. The vigilante mob, led by the young man. They had heard the scream. They rushed onto the balcony. Flashlights beamed onto us. What they saw, the pervert on top of the crying college girl, holding her down. "Get off her," the boy screamed. I let go and rolled away, raising my hands. "Call the police," I shouted. "Check her apartment." The smell. The boy kicked me in the ribs. I curled up, protecting my head. "Shut up. You're dead." Mia scrambled back, cradling her broken wrist. He tried to kill me. He dragged me over here." She was improvising fast. The mob surrounded me. I could feel their heat, their hatred. They were going to beat me to death right there on the balcony. "Wait." A new voice. Deep. Authoritative. "William." He had been watching the building. "Back off." William shouted, stepping through the crowd. I said back off. He attacked her, officer. The middle-aged woman shrieked. Look. William shone his flashlight on me, then on Mia. Then he sniffed the air. The wind had shifted again. The balcony door to 404 was still open. The smell of the chemicals, disturbed by the fight and the open door, was now pouring out. It was undeniable. It smelled like cat piss and rocket fuel. William was a corrupt, lazy cop. But he was a veteran. He knew that smell. He looked at Mia. She was pale, clutching her wrist, but her eyes. I could imagine them darting around, looking for an exit. Miss, William said slowly, his hand moving to his holster. Why does your apartment smell like a Breaking Bad set? It's him, she stammered. He threw something in there. Search it, William ordered his partner. No, Mia screamed. She lunged for the railing, trying to jump to the next balcony, but William was faster. He tackled her. The neighbors stood frozen, their righteous anger suddenly confused. What's going on? The young boy asked, his voice trembling. I stood up, wiping blood from my lip where he had kicked me. I dusted off my jacket. What's going on? I said, facing the crowd with my hollow, eyeless stare, is that you were all so eager to be heroes. You protected the villains. An hour later, the building was evacuated. Hazmat teams were swarming apartment 404. They found 3 kilos of crystal meth and a hit list. Mia, real name Sarah Jenkins, a fugitive wanted in 3 states, was in handcuffs, screaming obscenities. Victor had been intercepted returning to the building and was taken down by a SWAT team. I sat on the bumper of an ambulance, a paramedic checking my ribs. William walked over. He looked tired. He lit a cigarette, the smoke drifting toward me. You knew, he said. It wasn't a question. I suspected. You played us.
You played me.
You played yourself, William. You wanted an easy win. You wanted to close the case so bad you ignored the facts. He was silent for a long time. I could still book you. Assault. Breaking and entering. Self-defense. Elena's voice cut in. She appeared out of the gloom, looking pristine despite the chaos. And my client helped you bust a major distribution ring. I think the headlines tomorrow will read, Hero Blind Man Exposes Drug Ring While Police Harass Him. William grimaced. He flicked his cigarette away. Get out of here. Both of you. Elena helped me into her car. You enjoyed that, she said as we drove away. No, I said, leaning my head back against the seat. I didn't enjoy it, but it was necessary. What now? You can't go back there. The neighbors, they know they were wrong, but that will only make them hate you more. Shame is a powerful motivator for hatred. I know. I have a job for you, Lucas, Elena said, turning onto the highway. That phone call wasn't just a rescue mission. I have a client. Someone who needs a man who can see what others miss. Someone who operates in the dark. I turned my head toward her.
I'm listening.
The case involves a corporate merger, a missing CEO, and a boardroom full of liars. I need a lie detector. I need you. I touched the scars around my eyes. The fire 3 years ago had taken my sight, but it had given me this. A world of truth, unpolluted by appearances. Does it pay well? Better than disability checks. I allowed a small smile to surface. Then drive. As the city lights blurred past the window, lights I couldn't see, but could feel as warmth on my skin, I realized the nightmare with Mia wasn't an ending. It was an audition. The blind man wasn't a victim. He was just getting started.